You are listening to Zimbabwe News. Keep listening to Zimbabwe News.
So the outgoing ambassador says with the ushering in of the new dispensation, the engagement and re-engagement exercise is actually reasserting relations between Zimbabwe and the rest of the world. It should be realized that Netherlands is one country where Zimbabwe exports a lot of horticultural produce. Daily there are flights into Holland from Zimbabwe. It is also a very interesting thing that the bilateral relations between Holland and Zimbabwe are on the mend. Ruben Barwe, ZBC News, State House.
The arrival of another 800,000 Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines this Wednesday has put Zimbabwe in a strong position to achieve herd immunity as compared to its peers on the African continent. We get that report from Owen Mandova.
There are only a few times in the history of mankind when all nations on the globe have been subjected to a huge calamity at the same time. In such a way, the COVID-19 pandemic has ravaged every economy, claiming lives at such a disproportionate way. How individual governments have responded to such pandemics is indeed a litmus test. Hence, the arrival of yet another batch of 800,000 Sinopharm vaccines at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport this Wednesday is another important milestone in boosting the vaccine drive, which has seen Zimbabwe outperforming its peers on the continent.
We are really indeed grateful to the President and his team of ministers. I'm sure you all see the media that vaccines are in short supply. Most of the African countries, developing countries, are struggling to get these vaccines. But in Zimbabwe, we have so far managed to get well over 5.2 million doses. That is really commendable.
The vaccine rollout is in itself a mammoth task, let alone setting aside resources to procure the doses.
Everything that we have seen so far is now procurement by the government of Zimbabwe. And we have been receiving procured vaccines since March, when we received the first 1.2 million Sinovac. If we vaccinate at least 10 million people in the country, we'll be assured of achieving herd immunity.
Treasury has announced that a further $100 million has been set aside for vaccine procurement, confirming that the targeted herd immunity will be achieved in the not-so-distant future. The country will again receive a batch of 700,000 vaccines this Thursday, bringing the total number of vaccines received in just a week to 2,500,000. Owen Mandova, ZBC News, Harare.
Still on COVID vaccines, government has purchased a further 12 million COVID-19 vaccines, which will be received in batches to combat the spread of the disease.
In a question and answer session in Parliament this Wednesday, Acting Minister of Health and Child Care, Professor Amon Murwira, said government has purchased 12 million vaccines.
So far, this country has purchased completely 12 million doses paid. And we are, at the moment, receiving a lot of vaccines, including today. And I want to assure the honorable member that there will be enough vaccines around the country.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Advocate Jacob Mdenda, commended government's response to COVID-19.
From what has been said by the Africa Center for Disease Management, Zimbabwe is #1 in dealing with COVID-19, and the government must be appreciated for that. Some of the developed countries cannot match what Zimbabwe has achieved in terms of the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines. So, what do they say? Chakanaka, chakanaka, mkaka urunge. Yes.
Government continues to receive COVID-19 vaccines and hopes are high that herd immunity will be attained before the end of the year. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
Meanwhile, the country has recorded remarkable uptake of the COVID-19 vaccine, with an additional 500,000 jabs being administered within the past week.
Uptake of the COVID-19 vaccine is hitting full throttle, with the majority rushing to receive the first jab, as the country recorded an impressive jump on its vaccinated statistics by an additional 500,000 in just a week. Having struggled with figures that stood at less than 80,000 in March this year, the current daily trend of at least 30,000 vaccinations paints a positive outlook for the country's vaccination drive in the fight against the pandemic.
We started a little bit slow, but this past week when His Excellency extended the lockdown and specifically indicated that we need to really buckle up and ramp up our vaccination during this lockdown period, that's exactly what has happened. Numbers have shot up. You see the queues out there, people coming out in their numbers. That is fantastic. We just need to continue on that trajectory.
The country's vaccination drive has fared well since the end of April, which recorded 414,730 vaccinations, which increased to 675,678 in May and hitting close to 800,000 by end of June. Thanks to change of attitude and awareness, more people are willing to get the jab.
We are equally excited, by the high intake, especially in the rural communities. As you are aware that at the beginning there was low uptake, especially in rural areas. But at the moment we are seeing, a stampede, of people who are, visiting health facilities, to get vaccinated.
While the figures are remarkable, they are still far short of the daily target of 60,000 vaccinations.
We have decided to come to those community, help them to have the vaccines, regardless of those myths which are being speculated on social media.
Private players have also become a vital cog to complement government's vaccination program.
If our community is protected, is healthy, therefore we are also protected and healthy.
Zimbabwe currently tops the African region vaccination status, according to the latest release issued on the 23rd of this month. Theophilus Chuma, ZBC News, Harare.
Encouraging to see Zimbabwe leading the pack. Now, despite efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19, positive cases continue to rise, with funerals in rural areas and other illegal gatherings cited as super spreaders.
On a Wednesday like this, Chief Chikwanda of Masvingo would have hosted his community leaders for a traditional meeting known as Dare, but due to COVID-19, such meetings have been suspended. However, a new headache has arisen for traditional leaders within their areas of jurisdiction, with the number of people attending funerals and rites performed becoming a major source of worry.
Ndiani wafa wacha si awangofa abolo Zimbabwe musadai musaungala baba.
With 107 COVID-19 related deaths being reported on Tuesday, there is no room for that kind of complacence.
Semuno mamambo Chikwanda zvozoitika nezvekuti mambo vanozoti aiwa nezvidzidzo zvitinenge tichisangana nazvo zviya tichidzidziswa nezvedenda todzidzisawo vanasa kuvaka kuti aiwa dambudziko iriko zveshuwa musaritora kuita sedambe.
Traditional leaders have since made a distress call for health officials and law enforcement agents to increase their visibility in rural areas.
Zvaibvira rufu rukaita munzvimbo taitokumbirisa kuti tikawanavo vehealth vanokwana kungo unokwana kuuya ari wani zvake oya angoti vanhu kuchimbogara pasi kunyange tiri parufu chirwere chadai makambozvinzwa here namambo vanotenda kuti takazvinzwa asi vakanzwa from the horse's mouth.
Mapurisa ngaazive kuti munhu uyu doctors report inoti munhu uyu ashayika sei, nokuti kana kuri kuSouth Africa atingati vanhu vekuZimbabwe ndo vanonzi avabatwi neCovid zvachiuya kuno vanenge vachitobatwa neCovid variko. Ngazviidentify zvive neawareness, zviudzwe vanhu vari kufuneral.
The Joshua Mqabuko Nkomo Ekusileni Hospital has finally opened its doors to COVID-19 patients in a development expected to decongest other isolation and treatment centers in Bulawayo.
With nearly 2,000 active COVID-19 cases in the city of Bulawayo, the opening of the Joshua Mqabuko Nkomo Ekusileni Hospital has boosted government's response strategy through an additional COVID-19 isolation and treatment center. Acting Chief Executive Officer Dr. Absalom Dube confirmed that the medical facility has been certified by inspectors from Health Professions Authority as well as the medical and dental practitioners of Zimbabwe.
We've got about 12 doctors that we have on site, especially mid-level doctors. We also have specialists who are coming
coming in through the National Institute of Science and Technology. So they will also be in the roster to support. These are specialists who know what they're doing, physicians, anesthetists. In some cases, even surgeons will also come in.
The Minister for Bulawayo Metropolitan Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Honorable Judith Ncube, commended the unit of purpose between government and stakeholders, which saw the facility being fully equipped.
Lola lo ethutsha ngelakicelo, omunye athutshe ngamanzi, omunye athutshe ngengubo, omunye athutshe ngembheda. Sasise safika ke esigabeni sokuthi isibhedlela sethu siqale ukwamukela abantu.
The institution's capacity of 20 patients is expected to gradually increase to 200, making it the biggest COVID-19 isolation and treatment center in Bulawayo. The Joshua Mkabukonkomo Ekusileni Hospital is also part of government's vaccination drive, with 400 to 600 people being vaccinated per day. Innocent Nxumalo, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Now, the Zanu-PF Women's League has urged Zimbabweans to play their part in the fight against COVID-19 by getting vaccinated and taking safety precautions. More from Bruce Chawanda.
Call for Zimbabweans to be vaccinated was made at the Zanu-PF Women's League leadership meeting at the party's headquarters in Harare this Wednesday. Addressing journalists, Zanu-PF Women's League Secretary Comrade Mebo Chinomona said there is an opportunity for every citizen to be vaccinated, with more than 5 million vaccines having been procured so far.
The Zanu-PF Women's League takes this opportunity to urge all Zimbabweans of appropriate age to play their part in the fight and get vaccinated to protect themselves and their loved ones. Due to His Excellency the President, Comrade Dr. Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa's astute and bold leadership, Zimbabwe is a leading light in the region when it comes to vaccination of citizens. I think this is very important because to lead the whole region is something we have to behave for.
The Women's League leadership also had an opportunity to interact with members of the Youth League who came up with different designs for the party's regalia.
Makaita zvakanaka nekuti 2-3 weeks ago paibuda pa social media kuti Zanu-PF haidi mamini, haidi mashorts, haidi matrauzi. Saka isusu tati mupfeke vanhu wenyika ino vagoona kuti ndiyo Zanu-PF yacho.
Mashonaland East Youth League Secretary for Indigenization, Comrade Tatenda Mavetera, spoke on behalf of youths who are appreciative of the noble initiative.
Chatinoziva ndechekuti muZanu-PF mune nzvimbo yedu isusu vasikana vechidiki tichiva tichikurudzirwa nanamai vedu vachitivhumbamira kuti tikwanise kukura mupolitics. Saka izvo zvinhu zvatinotenda nekuti urongwa hwakadai chauri kuita ndechekuti chitisimudzire sevechidiki.
The Women's League also commended the Second Republic for driving the country's developmental agenda despite the prevailing COVID-19-induced challenges. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
The ruling Zanu-PF party has unveiled a 6-member fundraising committee which has been given the task to raise 140 million United States dollars for party operations and the 2023 general elections.
The 6-member fundraising committee is led by Comrade Philip Chiangwa, with the other members being celebrated business people in different sectors of the economy, such as Euda Evaristo Mudikwa, Scott Sakupanya, Zodwa Mkandla, Tafazo Msarara, and Anthony Porte. Unveiling the committee members this Wednesday, Zanu-PF Secretary for Finance and Economic Development, Comrade Patrick Chitamasa, said the Revolutionary Party's election machinery is on the ground for a resounding victory come 2023.
The Zanu-PF juggernaut machine is well oiled financially to amass the 5 million votes for President E.G. Mnangagwa in the 2023 harmonized elections. So there will also be need to raise the resources to fund the President's election campaign in the 2023 harmonized presidential race, as well as funding the Revolutionary Party's parliamentary and local authority candidates in the 2023 harmonized elections. The committee has been given a target to raise and mobilize $90 million and is not only confident that it will achieve this target, but it is quite optimistic that they can raise up to 140 million United States dollars.
For committee members, the task ahead is achievable and each province will raise 40 million United States dollars.
We have got so many requirements for funding to fund our budget within the party to fund the election campaign in 2023. We are looking at,
raising that amount starting from now. So each and every province will be expected to contribute 14 million. And we will work with those provinces and achieve that.
The ruling party is hoping to raise funds from various corporates and individuals, including those in the diaspora. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
More news still coming here on this bulletin, but here's what you can look forward to.
In business, economic analysts say government salary review signals the successful implementation of the 2021 budget.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us here on the main news. For more news and information, do log on to the website zbc.co.zw.
And as usual, you can also connect with us on social media at ZBC News Online on Twitter and Facebook.
And here's more on the main news. The Mental Health Tribunal Board is meeting in Harare to review applications and appeals for patients detained in special institutions. Memory Chamisa has more.
The 7-member Tribunal Board on Mental Health has in just 2 days considered 74 applications and appeals for patients detained in special institutions and other places before making a decision on their release. Chairperson of the tribunal, retired Justice Matthews Cheda, spoke on the cases which are under consideration.
Yesterday we had 38 cases which we reviewed and finalized. And then today we have got about 42 matters which we are also looking at in order to determine if they are suitable for release or otherwise we do so.
Justice Cheda also appealed to communities to embrace the released patients and render them the necessary support.
They are not criminals. They are released because the doctors are now satisfied that they can be integrated in society without much problems. So do not regard them as mad people, perpetually mad people. We must take them on. They are actually recover better when they are in their home environment, as long as, and I emphasize, as long as we monitor their medication.
The Mental Health Tribunal Board consists of psychologists, senior mental health nurses, lawyers and physiologists. Memory Chamisa, ZBC News, Harare.
Encouraging news for mental health patients. Our main news continues now from our Montrose studios in Bulawayo, where Arthur Evans and the capable team in Bulawayo are ready with more. Good evening, Arthur, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Oscar. And well, they say slow progress is still progress. However, if you're missing your targets, it's another story. Government has expressed concern over the slow pace of the construction of the Lupane Provincial Hospital.
A visit to the hospital construction site by a government delegation this Wednesday was an eye-opener on why some projects are failing to meet the set standards.
Main concern that this hospital is far too behind in terms of time. Construction started 2004. We want this hospital to start functioning. People are trying to do it in phases. It doesn't work. We want it to be completed as a hospital so that it works as such. What has been delaying the people is funding. This is what we are hearing from the contractors.
North yonke as a whole asila provincial hospital and yona lesithembile so ifuze isukume iphela ngoba ama phases la okhuluma ngawo kuzaba le outpatient kube lama pharmacy but ungala zindlu zama doctors asozokuhambela.
With the construction of the provincial hospital having started almost 17 years ago, government says the legacy of incomplete projects will be a thing of the past.
We need to find a way of making sure that monies move very fast to the intended projects so that the contractors, if they are contractors, don't start work and stop.
ZBC News, Lupane.
As part of strides to restore biodiversity through the reintroduction of locally extinct species, the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority and the Frankfurt Zoological Society are in the process of reintroducing the critically endangered black rhino to Gonorrhea National Park.
According to the Gonorrhea Conservation Trust, the last of original black rhino population was killed in the 1940s due to overhunting. A reintroduction program conducted between 1969 to 1977 brought 77 black rhinos from the Zambezi Valley to Gonorrhea, but the national park reportedly lost its black rhino for a second time in 1994, resulting in a tragic second extinction. The Minister of Environment, Climate, Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Honorable Mangaliso Ndlovu, noted that the goal of the reintroduction process is to establish a new and viable population of the critically endangered black rhino.
Rhinos are globally important natural assets, and it has taken immense efforts and resources for Zimbabwe to remain a leader in rhino conservation, and indeed to be taking the positive steps of reinvesting in our natural heritage and committing to reintroducing such an important species to Gonarejo National Park.
More than 20 black rhinos have been released into the park lately, with the animals expected to grow into an international union for conservation nature, classified Key 1 black rhino population.
There's been an absence of rhino at the Gonarejo National Park for the last 27 years. And with tremendous support from the government, from Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authorities, and from private conservancies, it was possible to reintroduce a viable population of black rhino back to Gonarejo.
Zimparks officials say a detailed security plan has been put in place at the national park, adding that the presence of the black rhinos at Gonarejo will boost the country's tourism sector.
I'm sure this time around we are going to be able to secure the rhinos. We have increased our security by way of retraining our rangers and ensuring that they are well equipped.
You know, rhinos are a